Oh god, this is gonna be a whole series now, isn't it? So, while you guys are all creaming yourselves over the, Wano arc or whatever, my slowpoke ass has just barely inched over the halfway point of Alabasta, the supposedly first really good arc. And I know a lot of y'all are waiting to hear my thoughts on that biz. Like, comment, and subscribe. But for the sake of being linear, I think I gotta first tie up One Piece's intro arc, East Blue. Now, if you've seen my previous video, you can probably deduce that I have a certain fondness for Usopp and how much of a little bitch he is. But after getting more acquainted with the other straws like Zoro, Nami, and Sanji, and the rich, compelling backstories that define their characters, I'm afraid I have to begrudgingly admit that, yeah, Usopp's still my favorite. I'm not saying he's the best character by any means, I'm not that crazy. I'm just saying that he's my personal favorite. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually did not hate the Syrup Village arc. A lot of y'all warned me that it would be a drag and that it was the worst arc in the series, but like, I thought it was perfectly serviceable. Usopp's basically the Shaggy of the group who's perpetually scared shitless, but he sticks around because the camaraderie he gets from his buddies is just too meaningful to pass up. Dude is probably the most human guy in the series thus far, and when you have a guy whose whole superpower is that he never skips leg day, you kinda need an Usopp there to keep the world from feeling totally ludicrous. I will say this though, the Black Butler dude's whole thing about wanting to retire from piracy simply because it was a pain in the ass was the first tip-off for me that One Piece is not going to be a morally simplistic series, and I found that to be more true as I kept on. Now, I'm sure at this point, first-time viewers were probably like, I don't know, that last arc was kinda mid, dude. This show's gonna have to pick up real soon if I'm gonna stick it out. Oh god, how naive were we? So anyway, one thing that really caught my attention, especially when we hit Barati, was that One Piece's storytelling is a little more idiosyncratic than what I'm used to. Like, I wasn't expecting to get a full-on Zoro backstory as a transition episode into the next arc, but hey, it works! Oh, and don't worry, I'll get to that episode in just a bit. But anyway, One Piece keeps doing that thing they do where they just drop me in the middle of everyone's personal biz. I was like, why is this Marine Goober being such a Karen? How come this blondie longlegs waiter keeps telling him to piss off? Who is this Doug Dimmadome looking ass, and why is he letting his crew get away with it? Like, I'm so used to shonen series holding my hand with their 10-minute exposition monologues that I didn't even realize One Piece started talking about those 7 warlords guys, because it was brought up so organically. And that stunned me because my initial impressions of One Piece before I even started the show all came from like the promos and stuff. Speaking of which, why is OP merch so hard to find in the States? Like, come on now. And I figured it was just another battle manga where it takes 22 minutes to land a single punch. But no, One Piece is an adventure series through and through. And surprisingly, a lot of the hardest hitting moments in East Blue are not the final boss fights, but the events leading up to them. In this case, I posit that there are 2 key episodes in this saga that will hook first-time One Piece viewers if they haven't already. The one where Zoro gets slashed, and the one where Nami gets slashed. The first is great because it's the first example that hints at the One Piece world having powers that are far greater than the small fries we've already seen. And yes, it operates on the same anime logic that lets that Mihawk dude stop 3 swords with a butter knife, but whatever, it looks badass. Like, there was a second when Zoro got hacked that I completely forgot that we still have 1,000 episodes to get through, and I earnestly went, oh shit, Zoro's gonna die! Side note, it's kinda hilarious that this is supposed to be Sanji's big intro arc, but then everybody's favorite moment in it doesn't even involve him. Sorry, Sanj, not to downplay your whole tragic backstory and all, but from what I hear, Zoro fans are just a whole other breed. The second and probably most damning moment in this series thus far is Nami going all apeshit and stabbing her freaking shoulder because of the unbridled hatred she has for this motherfucker. Now, we know by this point that Nami's been a financial slave for the last decade, so we can sympathize with this sudden act of emoism. But to me, what really holds this scene up is how Luffy deals with it. Now, a normal shonen protagonist would probably make a big deal about how horrific this is and how it's their duty to help others in need and basically suck their self-righteous dick. Luffy is not that kind of man. I saw hints of this a couple episodes back when Nojiko was info-dumping Nami's backstory, and Luffy, to my genuine surprise, did not give a fuck. Like, he knows enough to see that Nami is suffering, but bro is just like, not my problem, and makes no attempt to involve himself. I was like, shoot, man, can I really root for this guy? But then something amazing happened. He does the decent thing and stops Nami from, killing herself, but that's it. He doesn't say or do anything to assist beyond that. It's only when Nami personally asks for his help, and only then does Luffy see fit to roll up on Arlong Park with the boys and finally start wrecking shit. And I was like, fine, I'll keep watching One Piece. Are you happy now? So if you've lived in the 2000s, then you probably know that weebs love making Nakama power jokes when it comes to shonen stuff. Which, to be fair, is literally in the genre's code of conduct. Thing is, as someone who's had a grand total of one friend throughout my formative years, friendship as a theme is something that I take extraordinarily seriously. And One Piece might be the first shonen I've seen that aligns with my personal philosophy. As far as Luffy is concerned, friendship is not something you build based on what's socially acceptable, but on personal investment. See, like, a good friend will insist on helping you move out of your folks' apartment because that's what friends do. But a great friend is someone who won't bother unless you want them to, and then they'll show up with a big-ass moving truck for your 3 boxes of belongings. Like, think about it. He invites Zoro through a very healthy negotiation. He invites Usopp just because he likes the guy, even though he doesn't have much to offer. He respects Sanji's decision to initially not join. And he lets Nami stay because her baggage doesn't really concern him. It's all for different reasons, but he befriends them simply on the basis of whether he likes them or not. I mean, hell, Kobe is technically his enemy now, but they're still buds, right? I'm just saying, Luffy may be the most selfishly selfless character I've seen in a while, and even though I don't agree with the guy on everything, I gotta respect that friendship for him doesn't mean you stick your nose where it doesn't belong, but simply by making yourself available. Oh shit, I haven't really talked about Sanji yet, have I? I mean, I'm still feeling the guy out, but so far, he's alright. I know a lot of y'all take issue with him being a massive simp, and that's perfectly understandable. Not everyone understands how we work. But the circumstances that led to him being adopted by Gordon Ramsay might be one of the most compelling moments of anime I've seen in a long time. Like, on the surface, a child starving to near death and imprinting himself on a former pirate sounds totally fucked, right? But if you've seen the episode at hand, then you'd realize that it's actually an incredibly solid example of found family. And let me tell you, I am exceedingly critical when it comes to that trope. No, really, nothing grinds my gears more than a story trying to say its ragtag group of misfits are a family without actually putting in the work to earn it. Maybe it's just me, but the strength of a found family isn't measured by how much you like each other, it's measured by how much you're willing to put up with each other's bullshit. Sanji and Zeffy Boy have seen each other at their literal lowest, not to mention all the chefs that routinely roast each other, and that sort of intimacy can only be established when you've seen each other at their worst. Same goes for Nami too. Like, yeah, Belmere probably should have had more of a game plan before quitting her only source of income to take care of 2 traumatized orphans, but hey, it's the thought that counts, right? So when it all comes to a head with Sanji leaving the restaurant and Mama Belle taking a bullet for her kids, you can bet your ass that my lip quivered just a bit. Which to me is the emotional equivalent to watching a litter of puppies get skinned alive. Like, it doesn't really matter that Chef Zeff had a shady past or that Belmere wasn't the best parent ever. Forging bonds in spite of their flaws and not just blindly accepting them at face value is how we become mature, well-adjusted, functional people that'll eventually fuck off to become an outlaw of the sea. Anyway, in true RPG fashion, the Straws take a pit stop at to stock up on supplies, and Zoro, you are either the sickest badass or the dumbest hoe I have ever seen. But also, it was around this part of the story when I realized that, oh yeah, I'm going to love these antagonists. Note that I said antagonists and not villains, cause those are not always synonymous terms in this show. I noticed One Piece has a very fluid spectrum as far as morality goes that extends beyond any shorthand titles. Like, take the pirates for one. All pirates are bastards, am I right? Well, let's not get hasty now. The Straw Hats aside, you know this show's got me by the nuts when they got me rooting for the villains Team Rocket style. Like, dude, I was not expecting to empathize with Buggy, the freaking Looney Tunes pirate, for having a drink with this one guy that I thought for sure was from a filler episode, and then actually cheer out loud when he got his body parts back to beat up a politically incorrect tribe. Like, don't get me wrong, Bugs Buggy is an ass, but you gotta admit, with all the L's this guy's been taking, there's a part of you that actually kinda wants to see him go far in this world. But to give a more grounded example, the vice captain dude that Sanji fed. Now, in all fairness, fried rice is the holy grail of food, and if you gave me a plate, I'd probably cry and tell my boss to fuck off too. But see, what fascinates me the most is that he actively rejects going the full redemption arc. Like, he said it himself, he doesn't think his captain's assholery is necessarily wrong, it's just that the gratitude and desire to help this one guy inches out a little more. And that's pretty cool, because what One Piece is saying to me is that being incredibly selfish doesn't necessarily make you an awful person. It just means you take hold of your own moral compass, and you can be as shitty as Don Craig or as kind of a soul as Luffy. On the other side of the antagonist spectrum, we got the mostly non-villainous sort. That being the Marines. Now, you got the obvious corrupt bastards like Morgan Freeman and Arlong's Rat Boy, and at first I was like, oh wow, the Marines are secretly evil, how shocking. But once we meet Daddy Smoker and Tashigi, who are actually pretty chill dudes who you could probably spend a happy hour with, then I was like, wait, the government is actually a really complex system that can't be easily classified as bad or good? Get that woke shit out of my shonen anime! Okay, jokes aside, I do appreciate that One Piece is handling the Marines with a fair degree of nuance. Like, there's a tiny part of you that actually wants Smoker and Tashigi to catch the Straw Hats, cause to them, they really are just a bunch of asshole pirates. Also, I'm sure someone came up with this crack theory like 20 years ago, but I'm guessing Tashigi is actually Kuina, whose death was staged and was induced amnesia, and that's why she's living as a different person, but what do I know? And last, we got the non-pirates that are truly evil, starting with the most despicable species to ever walk the face of the earth, the loan sharks. Like, they make this huge fucking deal about their supposed ethnic supremacy and how capitalism isn't so bad and how they clearly need Nami more than she needs them, and I just can't help but see them as a bunch of 12-year-old circle jerks playing Call of Duty and bragging about all the pussy they ain't getting. Actually, I'm gonna go put the warlords in their own category. For now, at least. Like, I can't help but feel that hiring law-breaking pirates to enforce the law is somehow oxymoronic, but then again, my knowledge of law is limited to whatever my folks and sister are saying when they watch Perry Mason, so maybe it does make sense. All I know is that Hawkeye from the Avengers is one of them, only this time, he's actually popular. So, the Straws get run out of town, do a legs in instead of a hands in cause they're nerds like that, and it's off to the Grand Line. Honestly, I had a hell of a good time with the East Blue. I mean, for a show that came out during a time where you'd expect to see Game Boys and shit, it holds up shockingly well. Like, it doesn't feel like it's tied to any particular era, and that's clearly deliberate, cause I noticed One Piece really goes out of its way to have that universal appeal, you know what I mean? Pretty much everything here, from the fantasy setting to the physical comedy to the show's general philosophy, is done in very broad strokes and doesn't really require much Japanese know-how to understand it. I mean, hell, half the time I felt like I was watching an honest-to-God cartoon in anime robes with all the bullshit physics it goes for. Which, in retrospect, probably accounts for why I loved it so much. Now, unfortunately, I can't give One Piece that 3 Mackelian star rating as much as I'd like to. It still has some of the usual shonen trappings that aren't exactly kosher these days. Particularly with how they handle the whole Nami resolution. Like, I get it, Luffy's the main character and he's gotta be the big hero. But like, Arlong Park is still very much Nami's story, so it just rubs me the wrong way that the dudes get all the action while Nam and the villagers just sat on their asses for like 3 episodes. Like, I don't want to be one of those fix-it fanfic kind of guys, but imagine if things had played out different. Like, what if Luffy just did all the heavy lifting and got Arlong down to like 1 HP, and then he was like, yo, Nami, you want the final blow? And then she pokes her staff thing under Arlong's nose and went, you owe me 100 million berries. And then bashes his head in. Like, how cool would that be? Oh yeah, they also made Alvida into another hot chick, and at first I was like, damn, but also like, damn. That said, if I had to pinpoint One Piece's biggest draw for me, it would probably be this. Despite showing a lot of the darkness of humanity and having its fair share of oh shit moments, One Piece is by and large just fun. Like, I'm a 28-year-old man neck deep in all this adult crap, and every time I watch One Piece, I just want to go outside, stretch my arms out, and go, Gum Gum Pistol! To no one in particular. It takes me back to the innocence I had as a kid, and especially now when grimdark anime seems to be the cool thing these days with the likes of AOT, Demon Slayer, and Chainsaw Man, it's like, I don't know, I just need a little light in my life, know what I mean? So yeah, it's Alabasta time, I guess. Heaven knows they ain't getting to that One Piece anytime soon, so let's see if they can keep up that momentum, yeah? Peace! Bum, bum, bum. Ba-da-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, bum-bum-bum, ba-dum-ba-dum, boo.